Hi, welcome to Wealthy Mindset. My name is Oliver. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Hope you're having a great day. In today's video, I'm going to talk about GameStop starting from April 22nd trading day to covering the next couple of weeks. I'm going to analyze the graph to give you the lows and highs, essentially price target predictions. Quick disclaimer before I begin though, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a professional. And everything I do share with you is just my opinion. It is not advice. So please do not buy or sell based off the information I give you or the opinions I do form. Please do your own due diligence and research before buying and selling. Now, if we look at the graph, some pretty interesting stuff overall. Again, we closed at, or I was going to say again for new viewers just in case, but before I do, close at $158.51 as of April 21st, 2021. Now, in case if you're a new viewer, I'm just going to quickly just show this for the next 20 seconds. Upward trend support line dating back since December 2020. Went up right up above here, whatever, bounced off of support right here, went up to the upside, bounced off of support as well. Yes, false breakout a little bit, but then went up to the upside, came back down, bounced off here. Roaring Kitty entered here, amazing entry, went up to the upside, coming back down. I thought it was going to bounce off this upward trend support line dating back since December, but it's like it's not, which is good. That's even better actually. Technically, just go up. Who cares? Coming back down, nobody wants that anyway. Roaring Kitty enters here again, amazing entry, looks like it's stabilizing. The reason why it's significant is, first of all, there's these downward trend resistance lines. Actually, before I get to that, upward trend support line right here dating back since September 2020. There is clean touch points, so it's not just like drawn between levels. There's a reason for it. The reason why I included it is, even though it counts as support but it got broken, I'm expecting that if this December upward trend support line, which goes above the September one now, if the December one does break, so in case if you're new to the channel, just to show you what I mean, in case it doesn't do this and go to the upside on the December, let's just say it breaks it, I'm hoping the September will hold to go to the upside. Now, the reason why I'm optimistic that it will go to the upside is because, like I showed in the last videos, the stock is shorted at, in terms of floated shares, shorted about 40% still. So in my opinion, this is not advice, but just in my opinion, we have at least one more short squeeze left, if not two. I'm thinking two, but at least one, because that's 40% is still massive. It's relatively about 15-16% shorted in terms of outstanding shares. Difference between outstanding and float is float has restricted shares removed. Outstanding does not have restricted shares removed. Now we have a downward trend resistance line dating back since the all-time high, right about here, or from here, January 27th, January 28th, and then it back tested as here as of March 10th. We have downward trend resistance line, two downward trend resistance line right here. Now the reason why it's significant that Roaring Kitty entered perfect times, downward trend resistance line right here, false breakout right here, bounced off and just entered perfectly right here, great timing, stuff like that, etc., etc. Here, he entered just before we bounced, or actually, let me just talk about this. So he entered right here and went up to the upside past the downward trend resistance line right here, which is awesome. But the significance of these levels. So before I get to covering the upside, like I always do in the downside, and the reason why I'm pretty excited overall, that I think we'll still do fine, is just for the new viewers as well. Upward trend support line right here, dating back since acting as resistance, 2 touch points right here, plus 2 false breakouts. Since February 4th, there's another one right here, February 5th, support touch point February 26th, March 24th right here, that one didn't touch, and then a couple touch points right here during the April 12th time frame, give or take, and 1 false breakout. Now, if you could see the same cycle almost essentially where the December one was happening, this one's doing the same thing, comes down, bounces off support, goes to the upside to resistance ballpark right around here, comes down support, resistance ballpark right around here, support, resistance ballpark, and when he entered, it didn't even come down to support. I thought at least it would, and then break resistance, but when he entered, CO stuff, etc., came out and went to the upside. Now we're above the downward trend resistance line, and we're pretty good. The only downfall we have, so we have like a 50-50 split. So now I'm going to cover the upside, and I'm going to cover somewhat of the downside. So we're below all 3 moving averages. That's a bummer. Kind of sucks. And technically, they could act as resistance. Now, the good sign is, or the positive sign is, the MACD line is in the positive. Might be difficult to see, but right here, it's in the positive. The significance of the MACD line is like the moving average direction. So right now, it's a bullish direction movement. So that's optimistic. If it's in the negative, it's bearish, and it's not obviously optimistic. So it's bullish right now. So technically, I'm anticipating to go up. We might potentially, because we're below the moving averages, might consolidate until we meet the December, or not December one, but the February upward trend support line right here. So we might consolidate until at least April 23rd. So for tomorrow's trading day, it might be not an eventful day anyway, until April 23rd, give or take, until the end of April 23rd, or like end of the day, April 23rd also, by the way. And it doesn't even necessarily, probably even April 24th, because by the time we get to it, close the day, probably not even do much until April 24th morning day. So hopefully nothing drastic happens. Now, if we go to the upside, I'm going to cover the downside after, but I'm going to cover the upside first. Actually, I'll cover the downside first, just in case. So if we go to the downside quickly, we'll rely on the support level first, which will be $151 plus or minus a couple of dollars, right? And then that coincides with these horizontal support levels as well, which could act as resistance back and forth. But between $155 to $150 to $155, between that range is horizontal support and resistance levels. Now, we could rely on $157 before we get to that, so that's good. So $157 horizontal support. Then if we drop lower, we could rely on the resistance level as support, but I would say if we were to drop lower, we would start trickling down to, what is this level, 139. So we'd trickle down to 147 anyway, $147 to $144, essentially $143 as well. Then $140 as support. Let's just see if this coincides with anything. So maybe it would just bounce on 147 anyway, because this might slow it down. So who knows? Then we'd come down to these double support levels, but this orange line acts as resistance / support, and it's not really the strongest, so that's why I kind of had a different color. But we'd come down to $139, which would coincide with the $140 support level. I don't think we would go any lower, because it crosses over with the December one as well, around the $138 price point. So this is the December one right here, and that's technically, hypothetically, would be a pretty good entry point. Again, nothing's guaranteed, but I think that would be a pretty safe bet if we would drop down to $138. If you wanted to make sure, counting for false breakouts, $136 to $135 price point, we could go down to the $136 to $130 horizontal support levels, and the September one is $131. So $131 would be pretty drastic, I think, but it is, I guess, doable still. So $130, $131 on this support level right here. Now, I don't think these will be essentially in play. I think more of a consolidation. So if we consolidate, we'd be consolidating between, for the most part, it looks like, I would say to be a safe bet, $153, $154 to between $173, which leads me to the next segment, which is if we go to the upside, we're going to have issues essentially in the 100, like obviously passing the 157, which we already did, so that's good, that's fine. Passing $162, the 160 range, there's going to be resistance, essentially $167 to $169. But the main concern that we need to pass is the $170 range, essentially. So $172 to $174, then $175, which I didn't write down here. I keep forgetting to write down, I apologize. But $175 to $177, and more concentrated, I guess, is $176 to $177. So there's that. So $177 is the main resistance that we need to pass. And then once we pass that, it's still not easy. So the goal is to, before I get to that, there's this downward trend resistance line right here that dates back from the all-time high. We want to get back up to it and not just back test and just come back down just like we did it in March 10th, I believe that was, right? What we want to do is we want to actually go up to it and break through it fully. Now, we could break through it and have a false breakout and come back down, but it actually wouldn't be that bad, because then at least it would signal that we made the downward trend resistance line weak. So that would be good, so that way at least in a future date we could break it. The unfortunate part though is if we have a false breakout and come back down, the longer we take to meet this downward trend resistance line, the lower the high will be. So if we meet it right away, we'll have issues passing $226, $227, give or take, plus or minus a couple dollars. If we meet it here, like meet it down here as of April 26th, then it will be $214, give or take, plus or minus a couple dollars. So that's the issue. Now, again, if we spike up right off the bat, we're going to have to pass $177. Then after that, we're going to have issues between $189 to $226. which the reason why I didn't necessarily just mention it again, $226, $227, give or take, maybe at $227, $226, $228, around that range. The problem is we're going to have a lot of resistance, $189 horizontal to $226 as well horizontal. So there's almost a pretty good chance that we pretty much get knocked down anyway. That's the unfortunate part because it coincides a lot. So hopefully that's not the case, but it's quite possible. That's the unfortunate part. Now, it's not all hypothetically doom and gloom because there is a positive though. If you do come back down, you hopefully rely on these support levels, especially since they're all coinciding a little bit together at the same point. So hopefully bounce off to the upside and then test the downward trend resistance line again. Hopefully there's a false breakout though, because if there is, then that bounce would be more significant to actually break the downward trend resistance line. So hopefully that does play out. Now, if you pass $226, it's actually pretty good. The next resistance level would be in the $250 range, $250 price point range. More specifically, I think it was $255, but $254 to $257 essentially for the most part. And that's basically it. There is more resistance to the upside. Essentially, if you want some crazy growth, it's essentially the $300 range, the low $300 and $350. But I'll elaborate more as we get to it. But in the meantime, these are the levels that we need to pass first, and then we'll go from there. But thanks again for watching. Appreciate it. Hope you liked it. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you did like the video and liked it overall and found it helpful, consider dropping a like. It does help with the channel. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. And if you like videos like this or other stock videos or other financial videos, consider subscribing so you'll be notified when I do upload those videos. And that's basically it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.